In this video, we're going to talk through how to approach Eduqas English Language Component 1, Question 3. This question is just like the second question in this component, as it's testing you on the same assessment objective, AO2. Remember, this is your ability to explain, comment on, and analyse how writers use language and structure to achieve effects and influence readers, using relevant subject terminology to support your views. But this time, the question is worth 10 marks, the maximum number of marks for any question on the reading section of the Eduqas language paper. This question could be another impressions question, or it could be structured as a how question. For example, you could be given line numbers from the text and asked something like, how does the writer show the relationship between Katniss Everdeen and Peter Mellark in these lines? How does the writer show the character of Eleanor in these lines? Or, how does the writer show the differences between Sarah and her mother Natasha in these lines? As you can see, you could be asked about one character or multiple characters. Again, just like an impressions question. The more characters, the easier it should be for you to make several comments. Also, to help guide your response even more, you might be given bullet points. If you are, they'll ask you to consider what the characters say and do in these lines, and how the writer uses language and structure in relation to the focus of the question. The question will also remind you that you need to refer to the text to support your answer, meaning that you need to include quotations from the text, and that you should use relevant subject terminology where appropriate. Remember, this refers to your comments on language used in the extract and exploring its effect. It doesn't mean you need to become an expert at identifying things like nouns, verbs, and adverbs. Essentially, all this question is ever asking you to do is comment on content and language. Content is basically what happens in the story, while language is concerned with how the writer gets their ideas across. You should comment on both of these things in your answer. They're both important, but analysing language will demonstrate a higher quality response. What the examiner is looking for is for you to identify evidence that shows something about the character or characters. Sound familiar? Seems just like another impressions question, doesn't it? The steps are exactly the same. Answer the question, find a quote to evidence it, and explain how the quote addresses the question. In your exam, you should follow the same steps as for the previous two questions, boxing off the lines, decoding the question, and highlighting evidence. So, using one of our example questions, you'd start by boxing off lines 3 to 17 in the text. A good tip is to use a third coloured highlighter, because this is question 3. Using a different colour to the ones you've used for the previous two questions will help you stay on track, by making it easier to keep the sections for each question separate. You then need to identify the key words in the question, in this case, relationship, Katniss, and Peter, and highlight them. Then, keeping in mind the two bullet points, content and language, you need to read through the given lines, highlighting anything you think shows something about Katniss and Peter's relationship. You have around 13 minutes to write a response, so to make sure your time is used wisely, and because the marks will be awarded for what's in your answer booklet, not on the extract, it's best that you just highlight the evidence as you read through the given lines, rather than annotating your ideas. Your response might look something like this. This response only offers one answer in relation to the given question, so it would only receive 1 mark. It's a 10-mark question, so in a full response you'd need to begin with an overview, followed by 8 or 9 separate points to receive a top band mark. But for now, let's look closer at the steps to success for this type of question. Use connectives to guide the examiner through your response. Use the keywords from the question in your answer. This will keep you focused and make sure you're really answering what's being asked. Outline your opinion, just like an impression, of the character's relationship. Select evidence from the text that reveals something about the character's relationship. If it helps support your point, show your understanding of the extract by explaining what's happening at this point in the story. Don't spend too long on each point you're making. Instead, it's about the coverage. With a 10-mark question, try to aim for 8 or 9 separate points, which cover both content and language. We'll leave it there. It'd be a good idea to practice the differently phrased questions you could be asked to build up your confidence before the exam. To get you started, why not try the Eduqas style paper that's attached to this pod? Good luck!